Everybody, my name is Jen and welcome to Law Hero. So today we are specifically focusing on competency-based questions around interview. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe and follow me at Law Hero IRL on Instagram. In my experience, the competency-based approach, that was always a public sector thing, and now it's started to move into solicitor, legal counsel interviews. I think it's a good thing, because what it does is it takes away the subjectivity of the decision maker. If you can demonstrate a competency through an example, that is an objective, box ticking exercise, as in you're proving it based on your example rather than what your hunch is, or so it's a concrete response, and I think it's the right thing to do, to be completely honest. If it was me and if I was hiring a lawyer, I would test their competency absolutely before I test anything else. You assume that their behavior, character and all of that is checks out because they've worked in other places, they've been entered into the bar, they have been practicing, so why would you look beyond that? You accept their character, you accept their behavior. So I do think competency-based interviews, we're going to see more of them. So I've created a list of kind of common competency-based questions, which I think are relevant for people who, are either switching between roles from private practice to in-house, or in in-house roles where they're switching between employers. So aside from the very specific, questions around the role itself, some broad ones include, can you tell us about a time you worked on a team? And it is important that you have your example ready, to mind. And how you respond and structure the answer is around the STAR, so the situation, task, action and result. So it's a kind of loose structure, but it really actually does help in the interview to keep you on track. So when it comes to a situation, that's setting the scene, the background, you want to keep that really short. So for example, in my last role, I was on a team, and we were we'll say we're on a corporate law team. Really, really short. Okay, task. We had a client who was looking to acquire a number of Irish companies, and we had to do the due diligence for that client. Task. Action. We had a deadline in which we had to complete the due diligence report, and this required a lot of cross practice area input. I had to coordinate, as the trainee, I had to coordinate lots of different questions and answers from lots of different departments, and also manage the client expectations. Result, we had the DD report furnished. The client was very happy with the result and went and made the investment. That would be a very quick STAR, and it shows that you worked on a team, but there was an actual result to you working on the team. Obviously, what they're looking for is in the workplace. You don't want to go off kilter and talk about a time you worked on a team outside of the workplace, because it's just not relevant, especially if it's a professional role. So just keep that in mind. A common pitfall in that scenario would be people spending way too long on what the situation was and what the task was. The real kind of value in that question is in the action and in the result, because they want to see how you get things done. Essentially, that's what competency is, that you can do something. So kind of bear that in mind. Especially in these times, they will ask you about a time you implemented a legal practice management innovation, or a time you innovated a system already in place. Most people don't really do this, so this is going to be a hard question to ask hard question to answer if you have never really put on your thinking cap and thought outside the box and improved some area of your business. Any lawyer worth their salt should have an example around this. So for example, you made a checklist whereby anytime a contract went out that there were certain clauses in there, or you simplified a process. For example, if there was 10 steps involved in registering a document in the property registration authority, that you streamlined it all down to one, or that you observed something that was repetitive and you guys outsourced it or something like that. You made some part of the business easier, thereby reducing costs and thereby increasing customer satisfaction. And that's what innovation is. Like, innovation is trying to make things easier in order to save costs. So that's the competency they're looking for there. Tell me about the time you had to negotiate. Negotiation is part of everything we do day to day. So you'll have hundreds of examples for this. In an in-house role, they're really looking here how you dealt with stakeholders, be it vendors who are selling into the business, or your internal stakeholders, or your board, or it could even be with your fellow lawyers on your team. But it has to be some kind of concrete, worthy example whereby, you more than likely had to reach a compromise, you had to explain your position, you had to understand other people's point of view. And what they're really looking for here with this question is that you are aware enough to know that other people have different objectives driving them, that you are obviously coming from a legal risk perspective, but at the same time the project or whatever needs to get done. So they're looking to see here how you can kind of think on your feet and also deal with other people. What is the biggest mistake you've made and how have you dealt with it? Like, this is a very uncomfortable question, but you're going to have to be straight up here. Obviously, what you're trying to convey is that you're a trustworthy person, that you're able to own up to your mistakes, and that, you're a safe pair of hands. So I would be honest. Some people genuinely haven't made mistakes in the workplace, and fair play to them. I always use the example of a time where this sounds really stupid now, but at the time I thought my world was going to end. I put a stamp, what's it called? I can't think of the name of the stamp. It's like an authentic version of the original. I can't think of the word. I stamped original document with that. So I defaced an original document. I didn't shred it, but what made it worse was that it was a license that had to hang up in a pub. But thankfully the license was to be renewed, so it wouldn't have been up in the pub for that long. But I felt awful, like felt like I'd destroyed it. It'd be like putting like a big ugly certified copy stamp on my lovely cert here, which is up there for life. So yeah, I felt awful, but I owned up straight away, and I like ran to the solicitor I was working for, and I was like, oh my god, look what I've done, I'm so stupid. And she just stared at it for felt like 10 minutes, and then she was like, this is what we're gonna do, like we're gonna fix it, like we're gonna sort this out. So yeah, it was fine in the end. And I've heard horror stories of people shredding things and whatever. Like, at the end of the day, no one's dead. Oh yeah, don't say we, always say I, because they want to know it's your competency. To tailor. So they'll ask you, has there been a time where you had to tailor your communication to the stakeholder? And what they basically mean by that, are you able to convey legal complex topics into understandable everyday English? I obviously can't. So I mean, we all have multiple examples of that. If you've ever had to deal with a client, if you had to explain the law and the outcome, this is going to be fine for you. So that's really what they're looking for there, that you're able to speak to everybody. They might also say like non-legal professionals or that. A good one I've heard is, tell me about a time where you've had to manage multiple projects or deadlines, and how did you handle the pressure? What they're looking for here is your self-awareness around managing deadlines, prioritizing, time management, that you're able to say, to whomever is your superior, superior is a bad word, whoever is your boss, I guess, that you're having trouble, that you might not meet the deadline, that you manage expectations, that you don't bury your head in the sand and keep it all secret. Again, it's all being, you know, honest. They're testing your honesty, really. Another good one is, how would you handle a situation where a colleague is less cooperative? So there, again, they want to see your conflict management and resolution. I would say just be honest, like, you know, go with what you would actually do. I would go and talk to them. I'd ask them, do you understand what you're supposed to do? Like a reasonable person would. There's no right or wrong answers here, by the way. You know, this is based on your intuition, and you know, if you've gotten this far, if you've, you know, qualified as a solicitor, your intuition is pretty good, like, unless you're a complete maniac. So go with your gut, go with what you would usually do. They're not trying to catch you out, they just want to see, you know, can you handle the day-to-day pressures of the job. You know, when it comes to the specific job, we'll say if you're going for an IPIT job, you're going for a finance role, you're going for a litigation role, obviously the more examples you have relevant to the role would make you more attractive. You know, if you're going from an IPIT job into litigation, that's going to be harder, but what you do is you phrase it in such a way to show that you would be able for the litigation work, because you know you will be learning on the job. In the new job, it won't be as comfortable for you, and again, you should be confident enough to say, look, I haven't dealt with that type of law before, and this is a competency as well, by the way. I haven't dealt with that type of law before, but I'm sure with some research and guidance, after a time, I'll become more comfortable with it. I have studied it at undergraduate level, or I did study it in Blackhall, so I have a basis in it. You know, you're trying to convince them that you're not daunted by a new area of law, especially if you really want to move into that new area of law, or you want to move in-house. Because, I mean, that is the truth. People get on with it. It's not like, you know, all of us have this big fear that we'll go into a job and that we won't be able to do it. I mean, be incompetent. But to be honest with you, incompetency, I mean, you're only really incompetent at the very start of your career, in my opinion. The rest of the time you're growing. Like, once you have the basic skills to be a lawyer, the rest of the time, like everyone else, every single person is growing on the job every day. So don't be afraid to say, look, I don't know a lot about that area, but I'm pretty sure if I put my mind to it, and if I spend some time considering it and researching it and, you know, learning on the job, eventually it'll come to me. You know, like, you don't have to promise them the sun, moon and stars. Like, you are only human at the end of the day. So, you know, cut yourself some slack and be honest, be reasonable, don't be a maniac, and I'm pretty sure you'll get the job. Don't be daunted by a competency-based interview. As I said, in my opinion, the only time you're incompetent is when you're at the start of your career. You're not at the start of your career anymore, and that's why they don't ask competency type questions in trainee interviews, because they know you haven't the experience. So yeah, best of luck if you are moving from private practice to in-house, or if you're moving between private practice, or you're moving from in-house to in-house again. Best of luck, and stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.